Hi, I'm Tom at Just One Pack, and this is AC On, the short Alpha Clash podcast, where I talk all things Alpha Clash on my way to work. Now, this weekend at the Clashgrounds in Miami, which is very interesting. Only I haven't had a chance to see it because I was out doing other stuff this weekend. So I don't know much about what happened there. I think I know that Machina deck won, and the reason it's problematic, or at least I want to know what happened there, is that was the pre-release of Genesis Returns a whole month in advance. So quite a few cards must have come out of that, and I really did not have a chance to dig into it. So what I do instead is run through the new mechanics that comes out with Genesis Return in November 8th, and sort of give you my opinion on it. So let's dig in. So every time there's a new set coming out for stuff like Magic, it was true for a long time in Magic, they had to come up with, it seems that they had to come up with new mechanics, and usually there came 2 or 3 completely new mechanics that was sort of bound within that set. That accelerates over time to be an enormous amount of keywords, an enormous amount of things that almost just not quite work in the larger setting. So Magic has that big disadvantage that they have to build for seal as well, or sealed, specifically, so that every set can be built to be played sealed. Alpha Clash doesn't have that. Alpha Clash builds sets for collectors and for constructed play, and only every 2 set has to amount to a draftable set, and you can sort of curate that, which means that they don't have to come up with more than enough to support a new interesting strategy and support those stuff. So in Genesis Return, there is support for those stuff. I know I said this before, or at least I think I know. There is in Genesis Returns, there's loads of cards that support or strengthen, if you like, the old strategies. Only it gives you a little bit more variety. It gives you a bit of a broader range of choice. So things, if you want to go with the warming in token strategy, have a war deck like that, there are new cards that are interesting to put in that deck, giving me a bit more choice than I otherwise would have. The same with Flair, if I remember correctly. Flair had a few new tools put in. There's a new and a better support, at least more support, for Weaper's grenade strategy, which doesn't have to be Weaper, but the grenade strategy. So there's both more interaction with them, and there is a new grenade out. So I think it's called Sonic Grenade, something like that. So new tools for the toolkits that is already there, which I think is excellent. It's not just big. So the spoiler card I got, putting in context. So the spoiler card I got was a discarded card with ambush. Nothing special, nothing fancy. It's quite obviously, at least to me, a card meant for sealed. So you had to get something to support that strategy in low rarity. So you could think, oh, well, they put all the good cards in the first set, and now all the rubbish cards are coming out in sort of the second set in the block. which I don't think is true. There are also quite good cards coming out as well for support for war, for or warming in strategy, the token strategy for war, or the Nova tokens, I think, for flair, and the grenades for weapon and so forth and so on. So there's some good support coming out for existing strategies, alongside an interesting twist on the contender side, because there's also new stuff, and I want to talk about that now before the time runs away. So the new stuff is, of course, there are one of the first new things we saw was this two-sided contender setup with Shadow Light that can have a dark side and a light side. Perfect fit character-wise, but also it leans into a new style of gameplay, which, if I am brand new to the game and we're still growing this game, at least I hope we're still growing, if I'm brand new to this game, that is the effect I'm looking for. The knowledge I need to have to play that card is on the card. I can sort of base my deck building and my understanding of what's happening from what is on the card. Keywords are good for existing players. So, in my opinion, limiting the rate of introduction for new keywords is a good thing. We need new stuff from time to time. I know that keywords for the first set or two comes with explanation text in parentheses, which makes good sense. So reading the card, in fact, explains the card. But the thing is that if there are too many different keywords you need to understand, if you're learning the game or teaching the game, you need to remember all the keywords that's there. So they need to be, and they need to be there because they're an efficient tool. But the rate of new ones has to be tempered. And in this set, I'm saying only because I think that's a good rate. We only get 2 new keywords, which is good enough and not too much. What we've got instead, I'm going to go through the keywords. What we've got instead is variations and choice on the existing keywords and existing tools in the toolkit, which I think is absolutely fantastic, because it means that I can pick up the first set, get to build something, and pick up this one, first set. When I say the first set, I mean the third set, because it sort of seems like they're coming into 2 blocks. But every time I pick up a set, I strengthen what I already have. I'm not building from scratch. There is actual support in the boxes. Now, onward to the keywords we've got. One thing more, because it sort of plays into this these keywords, or at least the first keyword. So we got a few new tools in this set, and also new ways to think about the game. So I mentioned the 2-sided contender, but we also got dice roll. I almost forgot that. Conscription has dice roll, which I don't think any cards before had. So I don't know if that's sort of dipping their toes into it, or leaning towards this is a new way of gameplay and strategy. But yeah, dice rolling is now a thing. More importantly, we got way back. It's not that long ago when the Genesis contender was revealed. he sort of hinted that the Haven thing was not the only thing that's going to interact with the resource zone, and a few more cards have come out before that. I know there's a Plasmax card that readies a resource whenever he hacks. No, I think it's just you engage him and you ready a resource, so you sort of a boost there. Anywho, the Genesis contender sort of told us was the harbinger of resource zone interaction, and we got a little bit more of that. With that, we got the new keyword, at least I haven't seen before, called bound. Bound is sort of an exclusive before the resource zone. So you can only have one bound. A card with bound can only be a one-off in your resource zone. This would not have mattered before Genesis, the contender Genesis, but now it does. So at least one card I found has bound, and there are probably going to be more once I start looking through the footage from Miami. Is Genesis the adaptable, which is a Clash card. It's a 5/5. I think it was a 3/3/2. Anywho, this is a Genesis. It's a 5/5. Nothing spectacular as far as I remember. It's got 3, a red and a blue, so it's a dual resource. But he has bound, so you can only be one of them in the resource zone. Whether that is because he's producing either red or blue at any given point, or because he is a 5/5 for 5, and you there are tools to reduce the cost of things in your resource zone when you play from there. I don't know. Either one will do, or both maybe. So you have this interaction and new interesting things to do with the resource zone. Bound is probably a necessary keyword to put some limitations on it. It's not a big keyword. They just need a new word for exclusive. The other keyword we got was magnitude, and magnitude is interacting not with the resource zone but with the Oblivion. So we're bringing in these external sources or external zones, different zones that weren't really a thing before, which is not completely true, I know, because Haven did interact with the resource zone, putting stuff down there, and contenders like Death had a lot of interaction with the Oblivion. Did Pestilence too? I can't remember. But what we got now is magnitude. Magnitude is an effect. If you haven't seen the spoilers or have listened to previous episodes of this, magnitude is a keyword where you get magnitude and some number, 10, 15, 20. I think that's 25 maybe. You get a number, and if that amount of cards is in your Oblivion, if there are, let's say, 10 cards in your Oblivion and you have magnitude 10, then you gain some effect from that. Now, it has to be exactly that amount, but given how much previous interaction there is with the Oblivion, that might not be as hard to master as I initially thought. So there is a new keyword playing with that source, that zone again. So magnitude is for me the only hard keyword or hard feature in this set. The rest is sort of an extrapolation of what was already there. I know bound is a new keyword, but bound is easily understood as long as you keep the text there. So, well, that would be true for anything, but magnitude is a complex thing to understand, or more complex. It's not complex at all. Bound is straight up to both explain and to use. Yeah. So that is, but those two are the only quote unquote new keywords in Genesis Return, which in and of themselves, I don't think they will change much. The magnitude keyword is part of the. Again, I might regret this once we get to once I get to look at what came out of Clashgrounds Miami. But those two new keywords are not game changing. Magnitude is on, or at least I don't think so. Magnitude is on Kilimanjaro, the new contender for Genesis Return, where he has some abilities. Once his life total is down to, I'm going to say 15. He's a 25 life contender, if I remember correctly. And once he's down to his second contender ability, he gets a push from ambush. Whether he can hit those marks at that low level of life, I don't know. Time will tell. And what other support will come from that is going to be shown once we get cards in hand. But to me, it doesn't seem like a game-changing thing. What is game-changing, and I'm going to make that short because I've used a lot of time almost at work. So what is game-changing is the new use, or at least potentially game-changing, is the new use of contender weapons. So Kagan has now four tools, contender weapons. A mace and a helmet and an armor and a shield. And once you've got all four attached to your contender, you get the Eternal Draken, which is this huge 10-10 flight Draken onto the battlefield. Now, if that happens to be bounced or killed or something, well, if you still have your equipment on your next turn, you simply get another Draken. Once that happens, that's going to be real scary to sort of play against. Am I going to try and make a Kagan deck? Probably. Depending on the rarity of the cards, then I'm probably going to build one of those. Now, I don't know, I can't remember the rarity. We know as a community the rarity of those cards, because they all been spoiled, as far as I remember, but I can't remember it. So if it isn't sort of a Haven strategy where you get the backpack but it's legendary, so you're not really going to get it, that's a whole other episode. But if you're like that, if it's not like that, if it's rare, maybe an epic, but rare and uncommon tools, then that is a viable strategy even for casual players like me. So loads and loads of good stuff, support for the old. So even if you don't want to build a new strategy and don't care much for the new contenders, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because they look pretty damn cool. But even though, then there are things for you as well in Genesis Returns. So save up a bit of money for the 8th of November, and talk to you later. See you at ClashCon. See you. Bye.